want to show you guys something that happened just about a month or so ago. Many people will know that I was actually supposed to be one of the two Muslim representatives that were supposed to show up on the so-called Fresh and Fit debate with Jay Dyer and Sam Shamoun. A lot of people wondered, why did Jake back out at the last moment? And I was being accused by Christians and even Muslims as being a coward, of somebody who was backing out of the debate because I was scared to debate Sam Shamoun and Jay Dyer, which is obviously not the case. It had nothing to do with me being scared whatsoever. It also had nothing to do with my illness and nothing related to that whatsoever. It had nothing to do with any family issues. It also didn't have to do with the lie that Sam Shamoun claimed, which is that I had internet problems in Morocco. It had nothing to do with any of those things whatsoever. So why did I back out of the debate? Well, it's because of the same issues that are coming to the surface now with Daniel related to Aqeedah. And I'm going to demonstrate that in just a second when I play a couple clips from that trash and filth debate.
Yeah, Daniel, I want to hear from your own mouth. The Yad of Allah, is it a metaphor for his power?
It can be a metaphor for his power. It can be interpreted in many different ways. It does not contradict. It does not contradict Tawhid. It does not contradict monotheism.
Yes, it does.
You can have an Ash'ari position and interpret it as a metaphor, or you can have a Salafi Athari position and interpret it differently. That explain to me how it contradicts.
Okay, can you
explain to me? I answered your question. How does God having a hand, however it's interpreted, contradict monotheism? Can you explain this? How does having a hand? How does a hand contradict monotheism? Explain it. No, you asked me a question. It's open dialogue. You asked me a question, and I answered you. Now answer my question. I answered your question. I answered your question. Now you answer my question.
What's your position?
Okay.
I've studied Salafi, Athari Islam, I've studied Ash'ari Islam.
You've studied it, but you won't say your position.
What are you?
I have studied all of it. It's irrelevant to this debate. Stick to the topic. Stick to the topic. Stick to the topic. Stick to the topic. What? Explain to me. So, moderator, he doesn't let me answer the question. He doesn't let me answer the question.
No, because you're doing a dodgeball.
Let me answer. This is not, you don't have to like my answer. This is not interrogation. This is not cross-examination. You already asked me one question. Let me ask you a question now.
Okay.
Jay.
Okay, so as we can see, Sam, although I hate him, he's a complete scumbag individual. The honest reality, he and Jay Dyer were actually correct. They're asking Daniel his position on Yad Allah, the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we know, there are different so-called positions amongst the different schools of theology. We have the position of the mutakallimun and the philosophers, and then we have Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Now, they're asking him, and because they are both really have no idea what they're talking about for the most part, but they have enough sense to know that there's a difference between the Ash'ari and Maturidi position on Yad Allah on the one hand, and the traditional Sunni position or the Athari Salafi position on the other hand. And they're pressing him. They're asking him, what is your position on Yad Allah? And Daniel says, oh, well, it can be interpreted as power, as quwwah, and which has been refuted by our scholars for quite a long time. Or it can be interpreted this way or that way. He doesn't want to give a clear answer. He doesn't want to say what his position actually is. And then they ask him more directly. And what does he say? He says, well, I've studied Salafi or Athari Islam, and I've studied Ash'ari Islam. But they're asking, what is your position, Mr. Haqiqatjou? What is your position? That's what they ask him. And what does he say? It's irrelevant to this debate. No, it's not irrelevant to this debate. And then when you ask your next question, it exposes your hypocrisy of how it is directly related to this debate. Why? Because that section of the debate, there were 3 sections in this debate. That section of the debate was on Trinity versus Tawhid. What is your position on Tawhid? Of course it is directly related to this debate, whether you're an Ash'ari or a Maturidi or an Athari or Salafi, because there are true and significant substantive differences between those 3 schools. So they're asking you, just as I would ask a Christian when I'm speaking to them, if I'm debating them on the Trinity, what is their view? Do they hold the position of Thomas Aquinas and the Catholics? Do they hold a view of something like Jay Dyer represents and the Eastern Orthodox view? Or do they hold William Lane Craig's view and denying the Nicene Creed and a more Protestant view of not really holding to the ecumenical councils? All of these different views are relevant. I'm not going to start refuting Aquinas' view when I'm talking to William Lane Craig, and vice versa. I'm not going to start refuting William Lane Craig's view when I'm talking to Jay Dyer. So this is intellectual honesty, where you are expected to represent your specific view, and you say it's not relevant to the debate. Well, then what is relevant to the debate at that point? And you want to say, oh, well, we're just generally representing a monotheistic view. That's what the Trinitarians claim. And I'm not agreeing with them that they are monotheistic, nor am I claiming that the Ash'aris and Maturidis are polytheists in the sense of actually saying that they believe in multiple gods. But nevertheless, to make the claim that it's irrelevant what your position is on the question is just just completely dishonest. Of course it's relevant. That's why when I debated Jay Dyer on Trinity versus Tawhid, I didn't answer the question that way. I explained to the best of my ability, whether people agree with it or not, what my position is. And I represented the Athari or Salafi Aqeedah. So it's just completely dishonest to say that it's not relevant at all to this debate. But the honest reality is they didn't have any business teaming up because they don't agree on the same creed, or at least they weren't supposed to. At this point, we don't know. Daniel may be a Maturidi. We're yet to actually know what his Aqeedah actually is. But it was clear he did not want to actually defend any distinctive position, whether it be Athari or Ash'ari or Maturidi or Mu'tazili or anything. He didn't want to defend any distinctive Aqeedah position at all. And he told me this explicitly. So I originally was supposed to be teaming up with Daniel. We were preparing for this section of the debate and we started discussing the strategy, and he told me directly that he did not want to defend any distinctively Athari position in this part of the debate. He did not want to. And I told him, dude, how could I do that? I'm very openly Athari. I criticize the other so-called creeds or Aqeedas. I just had a debate with Jay himself, one of the other opponents in the debate, on Aqeedah, on Trinity versus Tawhid, the same subject, and I defended the Athari Salafi position. So how could I go into that debate and play the position of Daniel? And this is what I said, and Daniel will know this, and there were other people involved with the discussion prior to this who know and were privy to what I said. I said the exact opposite is going to happen. If you do this, it's going to be embarrassing. You're going to look terrible. They're going to beat you over the head with this and keep making the exact same point, pressing you on this, and it's going to look really bad if you're trying to obfuscate and avoid the issue and not mention what your position is and briefly attempt to defend it and then go back to the Trinity. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what I said was going to happen. And they buried you. They buried you completely on this topic. And they got slayed faithfully on Trinity versus Tawhid. And I will openly state that. And I don't care if Scam Shamoun or any of these clowns clip it because it's the reality. And I'm stating it as a fact. Now, this is why I did not appear on the Fresh and Fit debate. I said, listen, if you don't want to defend Athari Salafi Aqeedah openly and answer these questions honestly, then I'm out of the debate. You can find another partner. Okay. But I warned him if he does this strategy, it's not going to work. So I left and he picked another partner.